Welcome to the DC Life Uncensored, presented by the Fight Job New Mexico, International Strategic Partners, and Damage Control Mouthguards, the top mouthguards in the game. I am Mika Frankel from CagedMinds.com. We have a big show lined up for you guys this week. Our guests include Fit NHB striking coach Arlene Sanchez Vaughn and UFC 207's Tim the Dirty Bird Means. But first off, we're going to talk about this past weekend's action. A couple events to talk about, including the global expansion of Bellator MMA as they were in Dublin, Ireland at the 3 Arena. Bama MMA 27, split event with Bellator 169. The main event from Bama 27, Tom the Fireball Kid, still holding both his belts, gets a rear naked choke of Alan Amplet and is able to use the strikes, hurt his opponent, get it to the ground, get that rear naked choke. Tom the Fireball Kid is a top prospect. Bellator and the UFC both need to be lining up to try to acquire his services, as I believe it's that time for him to make the jump. A dangerous striker who is showing the ability to translate what he is learning into the gym, as I've seen some of it happen, and put it in the cage to use. A tremendous prospect who, too bad it's illegal to practice MMA or to have MMA events in France. He's a young man that will make that nation very, very proud. Now we move on to the Bellator 169 card that started off with a guy that also trained down here at the Jackson League Academy, Cameron Else, moving up a weight class, taking the fight on short notice against a then undefeated Dylan Took. And with 20 seconds in the first round, it's Cameron Else with a punch landing to the jaw, scoring the, some would say, shocking upset first round TKO for some strange fucking reason. This fight was unexplainably not shown on Spike TV, as it was part of the Spike Bellator main card, but I'm not sure why it wasn't shown on TV. After that one, you saw another featherweight bout where perennial contender Daniel Weichel actually got hit quite a few times in the mouth by Brian Moore, but was then able to transition, take the fight to the ground, and secure an arm triangle choke, finishing the fight at 4:44 of the first round. Weichel, as we talked with him about last week, wants an opportunity at Daniel Strauss, wants another opportunity at that Bellator Featherweight World Championship. We'll talk about what we think is up for him in a little bit. We saw Sinhead Kavanaugh beat Elena Kalinduhu by unanimous decision, and it was Kavanaugh pushing forward the whole time, whether it was landing her plethora of strikes at the distance or in the clinch beating up her younger opponent along the fence. It was a dominant performance. Bellator showcasing basically almost every weight class of women's MMA right now. No champions, but still we've seen 45ers, 35ers, 25ers, 15ers. Bellator doing what they can to showcase women's MMA. In the co-main event, Ireland's own James Gallagher, a mini Conor McGregor, has the haircut, has the tattoos, has the same striking approach, but isn't the heavy hitter, is a submission artist in his own right. But this time, against Anthony Taylor, was able to display some evolutions in his striking, using some side kicks, putting his hands to use, landing some big shots, but in the end, capitalizing on his jiu-jitsu, hitting the takedown, getting the back, winning with a rear naked choke. The main event, a lackluster one in the terms of excitement. King Mo uses speed and his mobility, weighing in for a heavyweight fight at 213 against Satoshi Ishii, 236. Ishii, the judoka, never was able to implement heavy strikes or his style of grappling. It was King Mo in his wrestling, hitting timely takedowns, using his jab, his speed advantage on the feet to avoid and land when he wanted to. No big damage from King Mo landed, but a dominant performance from King Mo, who then announces that his next plan is at the end of this year to compete in the Ryzen Openweight Grand Prix, being a substitute for an injured or out of it Wanderlei Silva. King Mo did win the Heavyweight Grand Prix last New Year's. Can he win the Openweight Grand Prix this New Year's? With that win, if he's able to accomplish such a feat, obviously, his last loss is to now current Bellator light heavyweight champion Phil Davis. I would believe that if he's able to win another Grand Prix title with Ryzen, that obviously that warrants another rematch where it was a close decision with Davis. If he's not able to, or if he gets tired out from that, there's also the possibility that Mo may not be interested in that rematch. He's talked about wanting to be a money weight, very interested in possibly fighting the winner of Matt Mitrione and Fedor. So King Mo has a lot of options, and again has possibly 3 fights still this year left ahead of him, depending on how that Grand Prix works out. We bring up Phil Davis because it was the last guy to beat him. Depending on how things work out, Linton Vassell, who has won back-to-back fights, who did lose to Lual at the Dynamite Grand Prix, could slide his way into a title opportunity. Another former guest of ours, just by numbers and just by wanting to possibly, if Bellator wants to keep Phil Davis active. It also, I bet a lot depends for Davis on what happens with Tito Ortiz and Chael Sonnen. If Chael Sonnen looks good enough, that's another possible big fight, a title fight. 2 top-notch wrestlers. So just bringing those up because of the light heavyweight division, even though King Mo has been looking at money weight. Now, as we go back through the card, also talking about the co-main event, James Gallagher. I wouldn't be surprised the next time we see Bellator in Europe. You could see Gallagher versus Cameron Else. Else has, I believe, slightly more experience, and an Irish versus English matchup could definitely draw some attention and can definitely push the young man. As we've seen, Else has the power in his hands. I know he has a very good grappling ability. It could be a huge fight for him to be able to put himself on the mat and really test the young Gallagher against a much more experienced opponent, as Anthony Taylor's only about 2 fights in his pro career. Gallagher even had more experience than him. It was a good win there, but I think those 2 guys on the main card could meet up here down the road. Daniel Weichel, he wants Daniel Strauss. It is a possibility, depending on how the recovery from the broken hand is going for Daniel Strauss. I'd like to be able to get him on the show here so that he can update us and possibly talk about what he's looking for in a return. You never know what Bellator wants to do with Patricio Pitbull Freire. They look at him in very high praises. He's the last person to beat Weichel. Has Weichel done enough with his 3-fight win streak to secure himself that number 1 contender status? Or could a guy that's I believe 21, 1-2 overall, a John Teixeira who's won like 6 of his last 7, if not more, where he would play into it? So Weichel, Teixeira. Things for the featherweight division could be getting very interesting for Bellator as we move into 2017. And 2016, again, not over yet for King Mo Lual. That was Friday night with Bellator MMA. Now we move forward to Saturday, where the UFC for the first time was at the Golden One Arena, or Golden One Center in Sacramento, California, for UFC on Fox 22. Start off on the Fight Pass prelims, the fight that really stuck out, and the only finish that we had of those Fight Pass prelims. Eddie Wineland, a lot of people remember, the first ever WEC Bantamweight champion. He's had some ups, he's had some downs, but when the man is in peak performance shape, his hands low, his confidence, his head movement, dodging shots, and making you pay with big, powerful counters, it's a thing of beauty. And Wineland found a jab, found his right hand, and was able to put down also very tough vet Takeya Mizuzaki. Mizuzaki, the Wineland now lost, the loss to Dominic Cruz. Mizuzaki had been in so many great wars, even in the WEC. I think that may have taken a toll on him. He seems to be getting finished easier and easier, or the guys are just advancing with their striking and sitting down on punches in a way that his defense is not evolving. But a big win for Eddie Wineland, and I'm real quick going to throw this out there that moving forward, I'd love to see an Eddie Wineland, John Dotson matchup. Just me throwing that out there. So much speed, so much power. That would be a fun striking contest. On the FS1 prelims, Josh Emmett said he was that much better on the feet, just a little bit, than Scott Holtzman, and that's right. They went takedown for takedown, but the more powerful shots, obviously, you can tell that from the face, was landed by Josh Emmett. 11-0, a very intriguing prospect from Team Alpha Male. Another also very intriguing prospect, Alex Moreno, who opened up his fight with James Mutasari, trying to go kick for kick with a Taekwondo artist. Once that didn't work in the first round, Moreno was strategically able to flip a switch, notice his mistake, and go to his hands, using his boxing to beat up Mutasari for the last 2 rounds, shutting down the space and landing the leather, as where the Taekwondo artist was only having success with his feet. A big unanimous decision win for Alex Moreno. Colby Covington shuts down Brian Barberina's hype or win streak. Brian Barberina had been a underdog his last 4 fights, 3 of those wins. This one finally comes back to get him, as Covington is able to wrestle, grind, show off a little more striking, as the American Top Team product, who is now 11-1, continues to progress in his career. Barberina, a lot of hearts, a lot of guts, still showed off good striking, made the wrestler work for it, got up off of takedowns, but was not able to put together enough offense, enough strikes, enough scoring blows to make a difference. In his UFC debut now, as the featured fight of the FS1 prelims, Paul Craig shows off a jab, shows off a mean streak, and then pulls guard in the second round to submit Luis Enrique da Silva, who had won 3 in a row, was looking like a very nice prospect in that light heavyweight division. Now all that shine, that luster, that expectation shifts over to Paul Craig, the Scottishman who had waited a year to make his octagon debut, gets the armbar, and I mean, it was nasty from where it was a triangle armbar combo. De Silva's able to defend the triangle, left his arm in there, and a straight armbar. Very vicious submission. There was another guy in Australia, Tyson Pedro, who made a big debut, submitting Khalil Roundtree. Pedro, Paul Craig. I'm just throwing matchups out there that I'd like to see in the future. That'd be a very intriguing one. Now we move over to the Fox main card that opened up with Alan Jabouin and Mike Perry. I had incorrectly on Twitter had tweeted somebody's about to get knocked out because Mike Perry goes forward, has a reckless abandon for brawling. Alan Jabouin has that tendency to fall into those brawls and oblige his opponent in making an exciting fight for the crowd. Well, that did not happen on this night. Keeping his head, keeping his cool, showing a maturity in that portion of his game. The Muay Thai striking Alan Jabouin put together combinations, angled out of the brawl, kept his back off of the cage, ended combinations with leg kicks, taking away the power and making it even harder for Perry, who was only chasing, not cutting angles, to cut off the ring, to try to cut off the ring from the movement of Jabouin. Jabouin stuck to the game plan, changed up his strikes, stayed out of the brawl, didn't allow Perry to land big shots, and hands Mike Perry, Platinum Mike Perry, his first pro loss. Perry had been a knockout artist. Jabouin showing, an evolution in his fight game, his IQ, and his ability to stick towards a game plan. A very nice win for the part-time male model. The retirement party going off with a win. It was successful for Uriah Faber as he looked fast, he looked determined, and he put it on Brad Pickett. On the feet, he was faster. In the first round, in a brawl, blocking a Pickett hook, returning fire with his own left hook. Uriah Faber landing the prettiest left hook I've ever seen him throw, knocking down Pickett. Couldn't find the finish, couldn't find the guillotine throughout the fight, but just when you would always have Pickett thinking about the striking, would hit a big, powerful takedown across the board. 30-26, Uriah Faber retires in style. We're going to talk about that more in a minute. The co-main event, if you heard me on the radio on my 610 KNML segment, every Tuesday there, I join them from 4 to 4:30 here locally, Mountain Time in Albuquerque, New Mexico, said that when they hit the ground, Mickey Gall would submit Sage Northcutt. It took him to about the third time they hit the ground, but Mickey Gall gets it done. Kind of flustered and angered as shit-talking. Northcutt brought out the trash-talking between the two of them, and I think it may have taken Northcutt out of his element slightly. Gall gets the rear naked choke. We knew he was the better striker. Northcutt did have a definite striking advantage, but with flashy movements and missing big, he again fell into the clinch. Gall drags it to the ground, finds that neck, and for the fourth time gets a rear naked choke. Gall afterwards called out Dan Hardy. Not a big fan of that one. Gall said he's moving to 55. Okay, he's young enough. Let him give it a try before he realizes that weight cut's going to be too hard on him as 6'2". I don't know if that's going to be a long-lasting move, but let the young kid try it. We move over to the main event now, where Michelle Waterson and Paige Van Zandt, we knew it was dancer versus dancer, style versus style. Would Van Zandt look to be the kicking taekwondo kind of artist, or would she go back to her brawling ways? How would Michelle Waterson deal with the size? Waterson would come out, stand southpaw, use her side kicks, keep Van Zandt at distance, even land a hard right hand. Before they got into the clinch, Waterson would change positions. She would get the position and dump Paige Van Zandt with a head and arm throw. Van Zandt would try to roll to take the back. Waterson, too quick, would transition and scramble first, taking Van Zandt's back, and Waterson eventually, after a couple readjustments, Van Zandt, to her credit, did fight it off for a while, but Waterson would sink it in, the rear naked choke, no tap, a technical submission as Van Zandt goes to sleep, 321 in the first round, a huge win for Michelle Waterson. Kind of throwing a little bit of solitude or clouds over the Team Alpha Male party. Hector Sandoval, Josh Emmett, and Uriah Faber getting the wins. The only team member out of the four that doesn't is Paige Van Zandt. Let's real quick look back now at the career of Uriah Faber, because that's what a lot of this was about in Sacramento. His final fight, the guy that put the WEC and the smaller weight classes on the map to start off. A lot of people throughout the night were talking about some of their most memorable moments of him, and I got to agree, suffering the damage against Mike Brown at WEC 41, breaking both hands and fighting for 5 full rounds, throwing elbows because his hands were broken. You can't teach heart and grit like that, a tenacity and a will like that, something that will definitely be a trademark of the legacy of Uriah Faber. Also taking the brutal leg kicks at WEC 48 against Jose Aldo, still weathering that storm and continuing to fight, even though he was being literally destroyed, people, violently destroyed. One that wasn't talked about much from the telecast last night, but one of my personal favorite moments was his finish at UFC 157, hopping on the back and choking out Ivan Menjivar with a rear naked choke. One of the first times that we saw him in the octagon jump on somebody's back, be the backpack, and catch somebody with a violent crushing choke. And one of my favorite ones, just a fight that I thought was a way that he caught the choke that was really cool. A former world champion, 5 times defended that WEC title, creating Team Alpha Male, creating, I think it was Forum, Torque. Uriah Faber has definitely, as an entrepreneur, as a fighter, even I believe back in some days as a commentator, has left his mark and legacy as a one-of-a-kind and spectacular fighter in the world of mixed martial arts. Now, as we go back to looking at the fight, there's what's next for people. And you got to wonder, where does Michelle Waterson go to this one? She came in ranked 11th in the division, while Van Zandt was 7th. Obviously, things are going to move. But just looking right now, who's in the neighborhood, the next matchup I'd like to see from Michelle Waterson, very definitively, I'm going to say Marion Moroz. She's won 3 of 4 inside the octagon, 2 in a row. A striker, she's ranked number 9, and just with seeing how everyone's matched up right now, who has fights on the horizon, who doesn't, what we're hoping to see come together, that would be one that I'm going to mark right there. But there is another possibility. I believe that the UFC is expecting, but she doesn't have an opponent this time due to injury, for Jessica Andrade to compete at UFC 207. So either one of the ladies I just mentioned, Waterson, Moroz, could jump into a prime big spot on short notice here in a couple weeks with that fight. But if not, I would love to see them against each other. You also look now, where does the UFC go with Paige VanZant, and that's a very interesting one because if you look at the top 15, where she's currently ranked at 7 going into this fight, she's obviously going to drop down in there, but with being Dancing with the Stars, with being the face that she is, with what they want to do with her, and I'm talking about WME here, as a star, as a sellable, marketable fighter, you're probably not going to see her in a matchup with a ranked fighter, and there are just a plethora of names then, once you start looking in the division, who she could get into a fight with, something that would be challenging but not overwhelming. I mean, you've got girls out there like Heather Jo Clark, Courtney Cast Iron Casey, and several other options out there just to pull her back a little bit, because we know that in now her second main event, you're seeing she's lost to Nama Yunus. VanZant has also now lost to Watterson. How big of a challenge are they going to give her? How does that affect her marketability? We know they want to put her in favorable situations. Let's not kid ourselves on what the new look of the UFC is. So this will hurt her, but there are so many names, and also I think I thought of a Jocelyn Jones-Lybarger. There are tough fighters that'll give her a challenge outside of the top 15 that'll be better for her to be able to mature and round out her skill set. So I'm thinking that we're going to see a big step back for Paige VanZant if they'll allow her to coach her career, which is what they want. All in all, for a fight card that mostly went to decisions, UFC on Fox 22 in Sacramento did have its entertaining moments. Again, like we said, Paul Craig, Eddie Wineland, and a pretty entertaining main card, even though the Jabouin Perry contest was disappointing for what you would have expected, and Watterson a huge win, 2-0, a big win to take down a big strawweight like that for the Karate Hottie, who again, I think a big matchup with Marion Moroz should be on the horizon. We still got interviews. Now that we've talked about the weekend that was, we can move forward, talk about what's upcoming, talk about some big issues, and we still got Tim Means and his striking coach Arlene Sanchez Vaughn when the DC Life Uncensored continues.
We're a dental laboratory that specializes in protective mouth guards for all sports. With the input and collaboration of professional athletes, dentists, and chemical engineers, Damage Control offers protection that is up to 417% greater than the competition, and a great fit that will make you forget you're even wearing a mouth guard. UFC champions, professional bull riding champions, and Mr. Olympian champions. These are athletes that depend on us for the ultimate protection. It's the most comfortable, most protective, and best fitting mouth guard. Breathe better, feel better, play better with the Damage Control mouth guard.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
ISP, that's International Strategic Partners. When you think protection in New Mexico, you should think ISP, not your everyday security company, offering background checks, self-defense courses, handgun, firearm, licensing, and a plethora of security, patrol, and investigation options. Call us at 505-255-6063. That's 505-255-6063, or online at callisp.com. You're back with the DC Life Uncensored. We're going to have a guest coming up with you in just a moment, but we got this week to still talk about. What do you have to look forward to this week in the fight world? Well, this Friday night, UFC Fight Pass does still have some action for your viewing pleasure. Victory Fighting Championship 55. Their former lightweight champion, a UFC vet, Jake Lindsay, will be taking on Dakota Cochran in the main event. Cochran, a powerful wrestler. You've seen him on Victory. You've seen him on RFA, a well-traveled vet. Can Lindsay keep this fight standing? Can he stay off his back? A co-main event of Daniel Galmore defending the heavyweight title against Jarek Marshmallow Boy. Who will stay standing out of these two heavyweights? You also have an RFA event, Kevin Pocket Hurt Gary in a flyweight contest on that card. So Friday night, the square cage of Victory is showcased. UFC Fight Pass, where you get your weekly, fight addiction soothed. Go there this Friday night. Now, something we forgot to touch on from last week that we got to bring up from the last 2 weeks. And I'm backtracking here because I had a brain fart. I forgot to bring this up a minute ago or a little bit ago. The UFC, now it is the WME's UFC is shameless. I mean, just simply shameless, man. We know that Friday, December 30th, the T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada, the main card live on pay-per-view, UFC 207. We have an interview with Ray Borg at CagedMinds.com. We're about to talk to Tim Means, and we know the event's coming up. It's a big event. It's the year closing out for the UFC in style. The UFC's year-end event with both bantamweight titles on the line, and the curious promos that they've been putting out is what we really got to talk about. The focus, the story that's being told leading up to this fight is, can the Queen reclaim her throne? Has she reclaimed her sanity, her work ethic, and more importantly, has she, been able to fill those holes and evolve in her martial artist game? We were talking about Ronda Rousey. WME is banking big on this. They're telling a one-sided story in lead-up. Curiously and unexplainably, the champion, Amanda Nunes, who is the Lioness, on a 4-fight win streak that includes a TKO of Ronda Rousey's good friend Shayna Baszler due to leg kicks, and it's coming off of submitting Ronda Rousey's former arch nemesis Miesha Tate. Also, Amanda Nunes has a decision victory over Valentina Shevchenko, who is fighting Juliana Pena here coming up in Denver in the main event for essentially that number one contender spot, depending on how things work out. So a champion that I think is very vilified in being the champion, the 4-fight win streak, beating the people that have been put in front of her handily, including submitting Sarah McMahon. Also, those are the 4 wins. Now we've talked about all of them, to take on the icon, or what they are building up as an icon, Ronda Rousey. Amanda Nunes has now surpassed any fighter that has a beef as the most disrespected person in the UFC because they have shit on her as the champion. Those promos tell the story of them only caring about Rousey, and it would be their displeasure behind the scenes to see Nunes win. Now, people are like, what do you mean behind the scenes? Well, Dana White, by this point, is just an employee. Even though we all believe his friendship is strong with Rousey, I believe his necessity to need to promote her and to push her is somewhat in the past. It is the rest of the figureheads, Ari Gold and whatnot, that would love to see their star, their talent, who they are an agent to, progress and look great to be able to use her stardom. This is a close fight, but the way they are hyping it is disgusting and an abomination. They are not even mincing their feelings. This is Ronda, and Amanda is just some chick in this fight that's bringing the title. Hopefully, the way that the new UFC is promoting this UFC 207 main event, it's not right. It's deplorable. It's despicable. It is the definition of why something in boxing like a Muhammad Ali act exists. You have to have, with something like fighting, the two fighters on a level playing field. And obviously, when the promotion is so much more forward in pushing and presenting one fighter in a certain light, they obviously have their intentions of who they'd like to see victorious, and the fight game is somewhere that we hope to not see such an uneven playing field. I may be crazy out there, but at this level of the game, you want a third-party promoter who doesn't have a definite interest in who wins or loses like that. You should be, again, I'm crazy for thinking about a professional sports league fighter wanting to put the best product out there to really see who is the best fighter in the world, as to where it seems like the new look is for who would be the most marketable person to have that belt on. More of a WWE kind of look to it, doesn't it? Who is most marketable? What's that face you want to put out there? This is the fight game where the strong survive and rise to take the crown. Well, as we transition on from my rant, we're next going to go over to welcoming in UFC 207's Fit NHB's, the leader of the New Mexico Wild Bunch, Tim the Dirty Bird Means. coming off of a second victory in a row. First off, man, a couple weeks out from fight night. How you feeling?
Feel good. You know, things have been going really well for this fight, which I think all the camps at 170 they've been nice food-wise and hydration-wise. So it's been better not having to train through crazy weight cuts and hard sparring all the time, and just fighting's got fun over the last 4 or 5 fights, man. Things are just good, falling into place.
So with that less weight cutting, some people say that they see themselves getting injured less in training too, because they're just not as brittle. Would you say you've seen that too?
I think that's definitely fair to say. Not to say I don't have dings and dents here and there, but nothing like it was when you're having to maintain training sessions plus cut a lot of weight. So, big fan of the new weight cut the UFC has going on, or the new weigh-ins at 10 o'clock in the morning. That last fight I had, I guess in August, I guess is when it was, but got to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner that day. I had to cut half a pound that morning rather than having to cut 10 pounds or whatever, you know. So, back on with George Lockhart's nutrition plan. So I've been working with him for last few years or whatever, but got back on board 100%. His diet and everything else, that he creates the meal plans and all that for you. So I've been seeing 180 already. Saw 179 earlier. So my weight's falling off without even having to try right now. So I feel good, man.
That last pay-per-view event, we saw like 3 people, crazy amount of people miss weight.
Yeah.
We hadn't seen that a lot. We had seen a lot of success with the earlier weigh-ins. So you're all in on the earlier weigh-ins.
I dig the early weigh-ins. You know, who wants to wait? I can say that I have waited all day long, having to hold the wait all day long, get to the cameras, they're in your face, you're dehydrated, you're grumpy, you know. So I think it's nice, you know. So move up and wait if you're not liking the weigh-ins. That's what I did.
And then the last fight, I mean, last time we talked to you, you broke it down perfectly. He's going to try to swing hard, and you were going to pick him apart, and you did that.
Yeah, you know, I might have fought a little emotional right out the gate, you know. I wanted to get right in his face and make him earn it, you know. So he threw some leather. You know, I think only a couple of them actually got through and landed solid. Most of them were grazing shots. But once I eased off the accelerator, started listening, started picking my shots rather than trying to knock him out with the first one or first 2 or whatever. But it just got real easy from there, and then I just wanted to prove a point. He made some mean steroid comments, and I just wanted to make sure I slapped him a few times to where he remembered that.
And now heading into this fight, is there any kind of outside emotion heading into welcoming Oliveira officially, I guess, to him being a welterweight?
You know, man, I feel like I lost a little bit of momentum when he stepped in for me. No personal vendetta towards that dude, but I had a lot of things going, things falling in place for the February fight that got canceled, and he stepped in, and you know, I put a target on his back, and I want to go take my momentum back.
Now, not saying anything bad about where you are on the card, but before the allegations, we were talking about you in a fight night main event. You come back, you get a TKO like you needed to on a pay-per-view card, and now you're just on the prelims again. Or is it, you know, it's such a big card, it doesn't matter what spot you are?
Yeah, it's just an awesome card, you know what I mean? It's my second fight back, it's my second fight for the whole year, you know what I mean, or second fight back since USADA. So, they featured it as the feature fight on Fight Pass. You know, I'm the 3rd fight, you know, let's be real, but they've been putting a lot of good fights on Fight Pass to sell that program, so maybe I'm just part of that little pond or whatever. I don't really care where I'm at on the fight card right now, so earlier the better right now, and I'm just looking to get into a fist fight. I got a lot of things going on. You know, the holidays, they bring out all kinds of stress and whatnot, but I'm holding all that in, man. I'm gonna let it all go. I'm gonna be the Grinch on December 30th.
Being on weight, does that make the holiday season even easier now for you? At least it's just something not to stress about where you're having to watch everybody eat Christmas.
No, man, I'm not getting to eat the pies that I want, you know what I mean, or the empanadas or the tamales or any of that right now, but it's close enough to right after Christmas where there's a whole grip of leftovers, and I'm going to kill it whenever I get back. But first things first, man, you spend money on Christmas, or I've been spending money getting here or whatever, I'm going to get to go and earn a couple checks and get back home. And this year started out cool and then took a complete different turn, so I'm a little nervous about the new year thing getting here. You know, we're trying to buy a house, and a couple things are on the table, so one step at a time, I guess. You know, I got a fist fight to go let some emotion out, so I'm excited for that.
Now, looking at Oliveira, He likes to brawl, he likes to get in close, and he likes to clinch with guys and drag them to the ground. What else? What else is there about his game that I'm missing?
His hands are way low. He jumps into things. He hasn't fought a technical guy like me. You know, he likes to hang on to that body lock because he truly doesn't like to fight. You know, he throws real wild to get inside or whatever to hang on to that stuff. But you know, he's gonna step in and catch an elbow, or he's gonna catch something stepping in.
You're one of the tightest, most technical strikers in the division, so this is a good matchup for you then.
Yeah, he's really aggressive and he comes after you, so I feel that plays into my strengths. You know, he might not stand at range and try to pick you apart, but he definitely smothers you, and you got to give him respect for that. He goes to his backside really good, which you see a lot of MMA guys walking to their front side or walking away from their power. So he understands those concepts, so he has a good IQ for the fight game. I just want to put a beating on the dude. You know, that's the only way I can think about it.
Now for you, is there still a lot more that we haven't seen in your game? Because again, the Sabah fight, you got a little emotional right away, so we've seen more of the brawling Tim Means. You still got a couple surprises?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of stuff I do in practice that I haven't got to do in fights, or I just haven't done. So it's just about getting more and more comfortable each time out, and those things start coming out a little bit each time. There's two different fighters in the world. There's the gym fighter, and then there's the competition under the lights fighter. And right now, it's just dealing with emotions and dealing with stress levels, keep it all in check, and performing. And right now, there's no pressure or whatever, man. I'm getting to go make some money and then renegotiate my contract.
Is this how many fights do you have left on the contract?
This is my third fight on it. We last few fights last couple contracts we renegotiated at the third fight. So everyone's talking all these union talks and all this crap, and all I'm thinking about is taking care of me and my team and my family. You know, it's about us here at Fit, and I don't need guys that don't know me or I don't want to pay union dues to, or necessarily don't know running my career. So I'm thinking about us going into 2017. Guys here at Fit, my team here at Fit, my coaches, my family, my wife. You know, I'm thinking about us.
And then on that, tell us about what kind of year you seen here around the gym. We know, I believe I can count 5 world titles this year.
Yeah. You know, a lot of tough guys here. You know, Sadiya Parker's had a big win bringing a world title back at 185. I would like to see him at 170 once he gets his nutrition and everything figured out, but that dude's an absolute beast, man. I've seen him knock guys out where the dudes are asleep on his shoulder. He hits a little slick angle to step out, and they just face plant it. You know, I mean, that dude has power, has fun written all over him when he fights. Super quiet and just a monster. Steve Hanna had a little bit of a setback his last fight, but you know, if I've learned anything, you learn more from losses than you do from any win. Steve's an absolute monster. One of my training partners. We have Nico just brought back a world title, and she looked outstanding. Her striking to groundwork to her wrestling, it all looked good. It's coming together. You know, Brenda had a good win her last fight. Dealt with her own little issues and injuries, stuff like that, and she just needs to find her little groove. I thought she did that in her last fight with finding range and establishing the power that she does possess. You know, I think she holds back at times.
I was impressed with her finally demonstrating some of the Muay Thai. We've seen the boxing, but she put the knees and the elbows out there in that last fight.
She has all those tools, and she kind of limits herself to just her jab. And you know, it's just a matter of more experience. Amber had a super tough fight, moved up in weight, but I think that's going to be a much better weight class for her. I think the nutrition and then the weight room is going to help her out a lot. You know, so we have an awesome group of guys to train with over here, and everyone is humble. We want to come in and learn. We don't have Mr. Know-it-alls and all that. Everybody learns. I've learned every day I come in here. I learn something new, and we get kind of shadowed or whatever. But why not have it like that, where you know we don't need 900 people here. We have a good group of people that we train with, and it's working out for us.
And then on a final note, UFC 207. It's on a Friday. Does that change up your week at all? Fighting on a Friday instead of a Saturday?
No, it doesn't. And, you know, it means I get to weigh in Thursday super early. I saw 179 earlier, working out and doing a little bit earlier for an hour. I don't even feel like I've started cutting weight. I've just been eating good. You know what I mean? Eating when I'm supposed to and exercise and hydrating. So I'm excited for this whole thing coming up for Vegas, the T-Mobile Arena again. My family and stuff coming out, and holidays are supposed to make you jolly, which they have for me, but they've also made me aggravated and a little violent. So I'm looking to turn it on December 30th, 207. Don't miss 207 because I am showing up to deliver the gifts.
And that's the reason to watch the UFC 207 Fight Pass prelims on UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah, spend the $10. It's a free 7-day trial. Cancel right after if you have to, but check it out. I'm showing up to fight.
Anyone else you need to shout out to or anything?
I think my wife, we love each other and we butt heads, but that's our strongest attribute for each other. It makes us tougher together. My team here at Fit and HB, always my team at Fit, my coaches, my coaching staff, my mother-in-law Irma for the time and effort she puts in with my girls so that I can continue living the dream sore as heck. So just thank you for the people that are constantly there, man. I love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you for the time, sir.
The Fight Shop New Mexico in the Montano Plaza Shopping Center, located off Coors and Montano.
ISP, that's International Strategic Partners. When you think protection in New Mexico, you should think ISP, not your everyday security company, offering background checks, self-defense courses, handgun, firearm licensing, and a plethora of security patrol and investigation options. Call us at 505-255-6063. That's 505-255-6063 or online at callisp.com.
We're a dental laboratory that specializes in protective mouth guards for all sports. With the input and collaboration of professional athletes, dentists, and chemical engineers, Damage Control offers protection that is up to 417% greater than the competition. And a great fit that will make you forget you're even wearing a mouth guard. UFC champions, professional bull riding champions, and Mr. Olympian champions. These are athletes that depend on us for the ultimate protection. It's the most comfortable, most protective, and best fitting mouth guard. Breathe better, feel better, play better with the Damage Control mouth guard.
Welcome back to the DC Life Uncensored. Right now, we're going to be joined by the First Lady of Fit NHB, Arlene Sanchez Vaughn. Thank you for the time. How you doing?
I'm good. Take the cookies away from me.
Holiday cookie season is a plague at Fit NHB right now.
Yeah. Get him out of here.
Outside of that, it's been a big year, a lot of things going on with the gym, a lot of champions crowned this year. But before we get to all that good stuff, let's find out about you. Heard recently that you started boxing at 4 years old. Really?
Yeah, 4 years old. My dad has a lot of brothers, and he was a boxer in the Air Force, and obviously messing around with his brothers. And I got a little brother that's a year younger than me, and he brought us up into the boxing game. So I started when I was 4 years old, and just kind of stayed with it. Not competitive though, just mostly whoever my dad would bring, cousins, all males though. So it was all boys because none of the girls wanted to box. So.
And I heard after boxing you went to karate. So how did that transition happen? What piqued your interest?
Well, it was the street fights before the karate stuff. A lot of street fights, and then the karate fell into place. And then 2 years of karate. And then I went right into fighting. My trainer actually just said, "No more karate for you. I want you as a fighter." So I was fortunate enough to have somebody see, that I had some skill, I guess, and I became a fighter. And then 2 years after amateur stuff, I became a professional fighter. So I've been doing it here in New Mexico for, gosh, I think about maybe since 1980.
And then labeling it as a fighter, what kind of fights were they? Was it pre-MMA kind of MMA stuff? Was this boxing?
Well, I did different disciplines. So I did some amateur boxing. I did point karate. I did full contact karate. Which was in them days called the PKA, and which was owned by a gentleman named Howard Hansen, and PKA was Professional Karate Association. And then going into the different organizations that I fought for, they would add leg kicks. There'd be some Muay Thai, which was elbows and knees. So I did all the striking disciplines coming up. Unfortunately, never got the opportunity to do some MMA. But I've watched fights, gosh, since I can remember. I remember watching the boxing of Ali and Frazier and everybody back in the 70s. So I really grew up on all that stuff, which was cool.
And I heard a lengthy 18-year competitive career.
18 years, yep, with the same trainer, in the same city, which is here in Albuquerque, and absolutely 18 years was good. After I blew out my knee, decided, it's probably time to step out, and started my gym.
And over that span, do you have a number, like a clue how many fights you actually participated in? I could probably guess. I don't. Competitively, with just the kickboxing, I ended my record at 16-2. With that, I've held amateur belts as a boxer and a kickboxer. And I'm trying to think. After that, after the time with Mr. Packer, it's just been teaching. Because when I left him in '98, the reason I did that was to start Fit NHB, and it's just been training fighters ever since then. From that time back in your era when you were fighting, I'm figuring it's progressed a lot. You guys didn't do the ridiculous weight cutting, and the science has changed, I'm guessing, in some of that stuff.
Well, the cool thing about now is it is a science. Back then it was an experiment, and we were the guinea pigs, so to speak. It was rough, it really was. Fortunately, I was disciplined enough to not allow myself to walk more than 10 pounds over my fight weight, and I used to fight at 122. And I believe that was what they called a bantamweight, I think, back then, because my belt says bantamweight. So I fought, and then one time I actually fought at 117, 118 pounds, which was quite crazy. Starved myself for 3 weeks. That didn't go real well. Went the distance, but still didn't go my way. Didn't have the energy, but it was all an experiment, man. We were just guinea pigs in the weight, in trying to figure out how to cut weight. Seriously, it was difficult. We'd starve ourselves. We'd do laxatives. Eat the same handful of stuff. Maybe 3 handfuls a day of, just ridiculous. So now it's really down to a science, and I can definitely appreciate how far it's come and the knowledge that people have actually put into it for the fighters nowadays. Even though some of them still struggle, I don't see why they struggle. I think it's, if they were asking the right people, it wouldn't be a struggle, and doing the right thing. So.
And from those days that you started on now on a stage level, can you believe where the fight game has gone from back where you were competing? Because I'm pretty sure you could have some stories of the places, the arenas you were in, the weird situations, or the small venues, or warming up, who knows with what going on, to the stage where we're going now, even here on the local scene, to the developmental scene, to the huge global scene that places like One Championship and the UFC are at. What's your thoughts on where the fight game has come as you've seen it?
Man, I'm jealous. I love seeing where it is. I love the fact that the women are more involved than they've ever been, that women that have the opportunity to step into gyms and not be judged as just girls walking in a gym, and they're looked at as fighters now, which was real hard back in the day to do. So I was the only female in my gym as a fighter. And it was somewhat difficult, to keep. If a girl came in as a fighter, she didn't stay very long. It was rough and tough in them days, man. We didn't wear a lot of gear, no headgear, no shin guards. It was crack-a-lack. You were knocking the shit out of each other with 16-ounce gloves and a mouthpiece, and I was the only female. At 125 pounds, but only the strong survived. You know what I mean? And I'm thankful for being a big part of that too. So now things have changed. Women, they've got different trainings and stuff that can help people, from maybe no fighting background, that have never been in a street fight, whatever, and work their way up to be a competitive sport fighter, which is kind of cool.
And also, on your career, how many different countries were you able to fight in? You said you had to go overseas.
I think while I was fighting, I fought in 3. I used to go to Holland, in Amsterdam, Canada a lot, Mexico, and Japan, 4.
Out of them, which one was your personal favorite destination that you got to do some sightseeing in?
You know what? We never really got to do sightseeing. That's the only thing that I do have regrets on, because it's all business, man. Even as a fighter, for me, it was all business. We'd be out there maybe 7 days, 9 days at the most as a fighter, and there was really no sightseeing. The sightseeing you got was because you had to go run the track somewhere. You had to go run. That was it. So but which place that I liked the most? I think that the best attitude in the fight business I found was in Holland. I think that they've got such a deep experience with fighting in Holland and Amsterdam. Way different, and it's the fight mentality kind of all the time, which is kind of cool. Canada was pretty laid back. Japan's pretty laid back. Mexico's definitely laid back. And I'm kind of a little hardcore. I don't know if you've known me a while, you kind of know this stuff, fear of fighting definitely is not me. So I definitely liked Holland a lot better for mentality.
Now we move on past the career. You said there was a knee injury that signified the end. Now, from all your different fighting backgrounds, and then also having been in the security industry, was gym opening in the path already? Was that something that it took a while to come around to using your knowledge, turning it into opening a facility, becoming a coach, starting the Fit NHB endeavor?
Yeah, I think everything happened for a reason. I think it all kind of came to that. I never really did think about being a gym owner. I honestly didn't. I thought I'd be a fighter forever. But the opportunity was there when I met Tom, and it was kind of like, hey, I know this, you know this, why don't we do this? And just kind of all kind of fell in place like that. And yeah, with the knee injury, I felt, I'm not going to be, as good as I used to be because of the knee, the surgeries and stuff, and the blown ACL. So it was just, I guess it was kind of time. Like I say, things happen for reasons. So I guess that was kind of it, and just moved on to something different, something else, and still the same, but just a different way of doing fighting. Now I just share my experiences and my knowledge with my students.
Did that take a while? You said you couldn't see yourself as a coach. How long did it take to really be teaching the classes and it not to feel foreign, to really feel like you were implementing? Well, we'll start with that. How long did it take for you to not feel foreign as a coach?
Well, I'm still not 100% as a coach. I still see me as a fighter. I think it's like 50%, man. Like I said, if you know me, I'm still involved in some things sometimes outside of the gym. But when I'm in the gym and I'm with my students, I'm serious, man. I know when to turn it on and to turn it off. And so as an instructor, I give them my undivided attention and make sure that they get the quality instruction that they come to me for,
And do you feel like you bring the basics, or do you feel that there is an Arlene, Vaughn, Sanchez, your own style of striking that you're teaching? Do you feel you implement your own? Because I know you like to tweak things. Do you feel you have your own curriculum then, specially?
Yeah, I definitely have my own style for sure. Once again, because I was the only female in a home gym of men fighters, and I was small, I had to learn, how to work around not being as strong and as powerful as those guys. So I had to really focus on technique and finesse and to be able to get everything in. And I definitely have my own style. And being in the business as long as I've been in, I think I'm getting close to 40 years now in the fight business. I've really, I've learned a lot, man. And I'm always trying to retweak and tweak things and to make it for the game that we're going into, whatever the fighter I'm dealing with, whether it be MMA, Muay Thai, boxing, I try to tweak it just for that. It's not all the same. I don't carry a strict boxing game to my MMA fighters. I know that it's got to be tweaked a little bit, you know what I mean, for MMA. Muay Thai, the same thing, so yeah, I definitely have my own style for sure. So, and I think you can kind of see it in the fighters that I've put out.
Definitely, there's different styles from Brenda Gonzalez. We've seen her with her
Right.
boxing to this fight. She showed off her Muay Thai to the way Timmy Means uses his. The thing that I'd say the only consistency throughout the team is the solid fundamentals with the jab. A lot of people exhibit that, and that's a fundamental punch that for a long time was lacking in some combat sports. But I'd say that'd be the one consistency you guys do here.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the bread and butter of fighting, you know what I mean? You've got to, I'm not going to say it's the jab every time, but you definitely have to have your, a setup, working into different combinations, whether it's just your hands or, your hands to feet, hands to elbows, whatever, hands to knees. So you definitely want to hide your valuable weapons with something that might be a little bit lesser,
So you as a striking coach, has there been one thing in all these years of watching MMA that's drove you crazy, watching untechnicalness or stuff? Is there something that's a that pet peeve to you that you see in MMA?
You know what? Yeah, of course. For me, I'm a perfectionist. So, from years back, when we had Carlos here with us, my biggest pet peeve was that the guys didn't know how to fight, and it was just crap, man. You got Tank Abbott, you got all these guys that are just barroom brawlers, and there was really no technique there, they were just in there just slobber knocking and looking like crap, and so that was one of my biggest pet peeves. I think probably not even, maybe the past 5-6 years has technique really been a big thing with MMA fighters. We started fit. We had all the disciplines. The one thing we didn't have was JJ, which was the wrestling. But we had the rest of it, man, and that's why our guys did very well even back then in the early 2000s. And, so it was something that I've always been adamant about is technique as a fighter. You don't want to just go out there and wing stuff and hope for the best, hope it lands, like some gyms I know. But technique was everything, man. It still is today, and it's really good to see that fighters nowadays are taking it serious. We've had everything under one roof since day one. Fighters, a lot of places, I think gyms now have finally recognized that and try to keep everybody there, but a lot of fighters have to bounce around. They've got to go over there to the boxing gym for their boxing. They've got to go over there to the, the Muay Thai gym, to get their Muay Thai on, so on and so forth. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for their ground if they do BJJ or whatever, submission grappling, whatever it is they do. They usually have to bounce different places, to get that. But, man, we've always had it under one roof since day one.
Now, talking about the gym, let's talk about the team you guys have now. I believe 5 world titles this year. I believe Brenda's Sugar Creek Showdown title was this year. And then we got Nico Sadaya and Tim Sosa with the King of the Cage belts, and Charlie with his CF something belt that has too many C's and F's in it for me to know what the name of the promotion is, because there's a lot of C and F promotions out there, but can't forget Charlie. So 5 world champions this year. Tim Means back 2 straight wins, 6 of his last 7 in the UFC. Tell us about the team and what you see with this bunch right now.
Well, I tell you what, and I'm going to say, it's not just our pros. We have some amateur belts that we won this year too. So in boxing and kickboxing, and we're proud of everybody on our team, from the amateurs to the pros to the world champion pros. So, things are going good, and it just goes back to what me and Tom believe, that you have to have a good foundation, and our foundation is through martial arts, and what we bring the structure of martial arts, what I don't think a lot of MMA gyms have, because MMA gyms are just that a mix of martial arts. So, we go back kind of old school, and keep that. It's not a traditional type per se, but we want to make sure that we just don't create fighters. We want to create good human beings also, you know what I mean? People, that's why our fighters are also our instructors here. What we've showed them, they pass down to their students. And, wherever we go, we always get such high praise on the way that our fighters conduct themselves. And that's what we've always expected from our people. Be good people. Don't go out there, I'm a fighter with this shitty attitude and throwing your shit around and acting like, you're the best, whatever it is you do. And because it's not like that, be a real person and have respect, and good things will happen. And that's exactly what's been happening. So, highest praise to all our students because they're kicking ass right now. And, this is we're at the end of the year now. And 2016 was a really good year. We're focused on 2017. We're already looking at January 7th with Nico. She's looking at another world title with a different organization, and we're real excited about her. So 2017 is our focus now, and we couldn't be happier with the team that we have right now, and that we, gosh, man, it's just been all positive.
And as we go back around that circle, again, it comes back to how much women's MMA has grown. I mean, Brenda, Nico, Amber, and Jamie, they've all been given so many opportunities and so quickly. As a trainer, you got to be happy to see that growth of the sport, that growth of opportunities weren't there even just a couple years ago.
Right. For the women, absolutely. And once again, it's staying in the gym, it's staying with the people, that started you. And if you notice, if you look at our background, we can put people out really fast. So it's because of the program that we offer here. We have all the disciplines and many classes that everybody can jump into with different instructors. Instructors with knowledge. Most of my instructors have all fought. They're not just people that read it from a book. They've all walked the walk, not just talk the talk. So they've all proven themselves in the fight game, and can share their wealth of knowledge with the new people that are coming up, which is, I think, why we can get such a quick turnaround with people that walk through the door with nothing. We're not fortunate enough to get the people that have already been trained elsewhere, already have belts and stuff, walking through our doors. We get the individuals that really haven't done a whole lot in anything, and we can create them. We turn one quick from nothing to something and build them. And all they got to do is be really willing to work hard, because we do demand that here in our gym.
My two favorite fighter stories. Brenda with, I just came to watch Timmy practice, and all of a sudden Arlene's like, do you know how to throw a punch? And I'm a fighter now. Or Jamie Hinshaw, me and my daughter just wanted to come work out, and now that little Tara is a professional choking out people, and you corrupted a soccer mom, it seemed like, with that one. So those are two of my favorite stories. Give us one of yours. Month fighting on the big stage, UFC 207. And he's been here through trials, tribulations, the ups and downs of his life, and bad supplements and all that kind of shit. What do you think about this matchup coming up? Tim Means, Alex Oliveira at UFC 207. Why is it a good matchup for your guy?
Excited for this one. It's a good matchup. Number one, because we had that whole thing kind of fall out of our laps with the Cowboy Donald Cerrone with the USADA thing, which was a complete mess. Kind of set us back a little bit. So we get the other Cowboy. I'm stoked about that. I think that it's a good matchup because we're still, we still got lots of room to grow. And when we get these fights like this, it allows us to still work on things and keep growing and moving forward. With our student, and so I'm real excited for this fight for Timmy. We've been working on some new stuff, and we'll see how it pans out, and hopefully we can implement some of this new stuff we've been working on. But I definitely see that we're walking out of there with that W.
And
I
also,
definitely feel that.
Talking about Timmy, what does it mean being here in the gym so long, he's one of the originals, seeing where he's grown, and then seeing him taking on the leadership role. He'll announce that I am the captain of the New Mexico Wild Bunch. What has that meant to you guys, seeing his growth as a person, not even a fighter?
Well, that's what we talk about. That's the whole thing. That's what me and Tom have been trying to do, and build, good people, good students. And, Timmy's gone through so much, man, so much, and is able to still focus as a professional fighter. Now a husband, now a father, all that stuff, a coach, and still able to give 100% to everything, because now he's older, he's, just a lot more responsible and stuff. He went through a lot, but real happy. We couldn't be happier with Tim, and Tim at this point, he's the captain, because he deserves to be the captain. He's the guy that has proven, not just to us but to himself, that he can do this stuff, and he's able to handle everything and still be as humble as he is. Like I said, he can walk around in the streets, and if people didn't see him in the UFC, they wouldn't know he was a fighter, and we're proud of that. We're glad. We don't want a bunch of people that are out there and I'm from fit and I'll kick your ass and stuff like that. He's just a quite humble young man, and hope that's what we're trying to create is good people from our gym, so that it just keeps passing down. Now he'll pass that down to his students, and then his students will grow up and share that one day, hopefully, with their students. So we're just looking at, we just keep on going and handing stuff down, and it just keeps on. It's just a positive energy, and I feel that positive energy just getting stronger and stronger, not just with Timmy, but with a lot of our student base here, and the gym in general. So.
Then I'm going to put you on the spot. There's about 2 handfuls of fighters here that I believe one day we're going to see in Bellator or the UFC. But next name up, who's that next guy that they're going to be announcing fighting out of Fit and HB in one of those big events? Who is it?
Well, I kind of, I'm going to say it because you're asking me, but I usually don't. This guy knows it too. Sadiya Parker. Sadiya Parker is going to be the next guy out there. Came from us. We've known him a long time with the King of the Cage and stuff. And him and his brother moved down here from Utah and uprooted themselves to give it a shot. And they're part of the New Mexico Wild Bunch. And Sadiya Parker, man, he just won that belt not too long ago with the KOTC at middleweight. But looking at him becoming a welterweight, he's working on the weight, and we're going to bring him down, and we're going to put him out there in the bigger scene. But that's the guy, man. That's the guy everybody better watch out for, because he's really skilled. He's a natural. He's really, really skilled. Good head on his shoulders, a family man, and a good person.
And I believe your other half, Tom Vaughn, referred to me as the Native American Mark Hunt.
I like that. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, absolutely. He definitely is. Native American Mark Hunt. There you go. You nailed it. That's excellent. So if you know anything about Mark Hunt, then you know what we're talking about when we talk about Sadiya Parker.
Arlene, thank you for letting me pick your mind and take some of your time for this interview. Anybody else you needed to thank or shout out to?
Anybody that's kind of been with us since day one. If you're new to us and you back us right on, thanks for all the support. Everybody that's been out there with us. I do want to say thanks to Delano Romero and the Damage Control Mouthguards, because he's done a lot for us too. And just a lot of the people that have kind of been. David Nader, I definitely want to give a shout out to David Nader, man. That guy's been the bomb. And I'm sure I'll miss a lot of people, but hey, just anybody that's been supporting Fit and HB for the longest time, we appreciate it and won't forget it.
There'll be more DC Life Uncensored in just a moment.
We're a dental laboratory that specializes in protective mouth guards for all sports. With the input and collaboration of professional athletes, dentists, and chemical engineers, Damage Control offers protection that is up to 417% greater than the competition, and a great fit that will make you forget you're even wearing a mouth guard. UFC champions, professional bull riding champions, and Mr. Olympian champions. These are athletes that depend on us for the ultimate protection. It's the most comfortable, most protective, and best fitting mouth guard. Breathe better, feel better, play better with the Damage Control mouth guard.
ISP, That's International Strategic Partners. When you think protection in New Mexico, you should think ISP, not your everyday security company, offering background checks, self-defense courses, handgun, firearm licensing, and a plethora of security patrol and investigation options. Call us at 505-255-6063. That's 505-255-6063, or online at callisp.com.
We're a dental laboratory that specializes in protective mouth guards for all sports. With the input and collaboration of professional athletes, dentists, and chemical engineers, Damage Control offers protection that is up to 417% greater than the competition. And a great fit that will make you forget you're even wearing a mouth guard. UFC champions, professional bull riding champions, and Mr. Olympian champions. These are athletes that depend on us for the ultimate protection. It's the most comfortable, most protective, and best fitting mouth guard. Breathe better, feel better, play better with the Damage Control mouth guard.
Welcome back to the DC Life Uncensored. It is time for us to close out the show with the CagedMinds.com local scene presented by Damage Control Mouth Guards, the perfect stocking stuffer for the athlete in your life, a Damage Control Mouth Guard. This past Friday out in California, Fidel Maldonado was going to be in a title fight with Antonio Orzo, part of a triple main event, an HBO Latino card. But Orzo ends up in the hospital being treated for severe dehydration. The fight does not go down. Hopefully the Atrisco kid can get a big fight here soon. Out in St. Petersburg, Russia, Donald Sanchez made his debut with ACB. That's Absolute Combat Burkett. And ACB 50, Sanchez drops a decision 29-28 to Adlan Batev, who won the fight with timely takedowns in the first and third rounds. Now, as we look ahead to 2017, some things that are already on the books right now. January 7th, Sparta Combat League 57, Jackson Wink fighter Henry Badajono will be meeting Justin Gonzalez, 145-pound bout there. Same night, January 7th, but out in Oklahoma, Nico Montano, a fit NHB, the New Mexico Wild Bunch, will be taking on Julia Avila for their Trigger MMA, I believe was what it is. The event is HDMMA 7, and those two ladies will be fighting for a bantamweight title. The following weekend, January 24th, in Brooklyn, New York, the Barclays Center, Hector El Huracan Munoz is going to be back in action in the boxing ring, taking on Thomas Delorme, who has 15 of 23 wins by knockout. Also in January on the East Coast, CES 41, which you can see on Access TV, will be featuring a pair of Latrell Yee fighters. Jordan Espinosa of Latrell Yee MMA and Fitness taking on Dennis Piva, and Kevin Kroom, also Latrell Yee MMA and Fitness, challenging Matt Bissett for the CES featherweight title in the main event January 27th. February 4th, Rocky Mountain Rubicon 4 will see Jackson Wink fighter Andrew Tennyson against Jordan Titoli. March 18th, GKO 9 out in Jackson Cherokee, California will see Steven Cervantes of Latrell Yee MMA and Fitness against undefeated Tyler Diamond. And that night, the main event of GKO 9 will see Latrell Yee's Jordan Espinosa challenging undefeated alpha male fighter Joseph Morales for the GKO flyweight title. Now, taking place actually here in the state, February 17th, School of Hard Knocks Boxing will have their next event at the Lehigh County Event Center in Hobbs, New Mexico. The very next night, February 18th, Warriors Theory Cage Fighting at the Kelly Hall in Socorro, New Mexico, an all-amateur mixed martial arts show. I can tell you names like Ray Viza and Seth Abeda have been mentioned for that card. Holmes Boxing is looking like they will be back in action at the Buffalo Thunder Resort and Casino late January. Legacy Boxing, next event looks like it will be in Albuquerque in February. Again, one more time, thank you to our guests from Fit NHB. Thank you for everybody that listened. Thank you to our sponsors, the Fight Shop New Mexico, International Strategic Partners, and Damage Control, the stocking stuffer for the season. Get a mouth guard full of stocking. Help keep some teeth in place. This has been the DC Life Uncensored. Thank you for listening.